Hey guys, Searcy here. We are knee deep in the 2020 presidential race, and there are so many different things that are being promised, so many different policies and platforms and promises that are being made by candidates. Let's really get into this thing and let's look at it. We're going to talk a lot about that over the next 13 months as we lead into the 2020 elections. And I know that this is probably not something that you want to think about, but you have to. As a citizen of the United States, someone who lives here, works here, you've got to have an understanding of how this thing is, what's going on, what the potential impact of these policies that are being considered, the policies that are being thrown out there. We're going to talk a lot about that, and we're going to look at it. We're not going to look at it at the with all this hyperbole and everything else. We're look at the bottom level, at its core essence of how it's going to impact us. That's what we do here for our TV and for our radio. Today I want to talk real quick about the $15 an hour federal minimum wage. Now, right out of the gate, I know that sounds great, and I know that on the surface it sounds like a really feel-good thing. Yes, everyone needs to make more money. Let's look at this thing at its core essence. From a business standpoint, when you raise the amount of money that it costs to do business, you potentially hurt a business. Labor costs are the highest component of a business that hires people, that have employees. Labor costs and those things related to labor costs are the highest or the largest component of their expense structure. When someone tells someone else what the minimum amount that they can pay, they automatically increase the expense structure of a business. Now, first, let's go ahead and make this really clear. A $15 an hour federal minimum wage is way overstepping by the federal government of dictating what is the minimum amount that a company can pay an employee. Now, I understand why the minimum wage is out there, and I completely get that, and I understand the purpose, and it is a very important purpose. But let's look at this thing. Cost of living around the country is different in areas all across the country. It costs more to live one place than it costs to live somewhere else. So you have to take that in consideration. A $15 an hour federal minimum wage is not a one-size-all-fits, and everybody wants more money. But here's the deal. Let's go ahead and look at his choruses, okay? Let's get past all of the policy and this, and let's really look at it. Bottom line, brass tacks, real radical, relentless, irrelevant. Let's look at it. What's going to happen? Might as well make it $50 an hour. Might as well not make the minimum wage $150 an hour, $250 an hour, $500 an hour. And you're going, Searcy, what are you doing, man? You're crazy. Here's the deal. If a business cannot afford to hire someone at $15 an hour, because all the other components that go into it, it's not just $15 an hour, there are taxes, there are everything else that the business has to pay, they're not going to hire somebody. I guarantee you ask someone, okay, who was working at an establishment when federal minimum wage or the area that they worked in adopted a $15 an hour minimum wage. It happened on the west coast of the United States. There are many, remember McDonald's, everybody just demonized McDonald's because they replaced employees with touchscreens. Well, one, touch screens never call in sick. I mean, there are so many different things around that. But let's get outside of that. What we see is where that federal minimum wage or the minimum wage is increased, that $15 an hour. We also saw an increase in the unemployment rate because businesses just can't afford to hire people at $15 an hour. I guarantee you, ask someone who lost a job because the minimum wage was increased to $15 an hour, I guarantee you they would love to have $10 an hour, because that $10 an hour means that they're actually getting a paycheck every week or every 2 weeks. At $15 an hour, they're getting zero. Let's look at this. I mean, that's really what it's about. What are we doing when we increase the burden on businesses? Because, and here's the other part, guys. This is the part that no one considers. There's a flip side to every coin. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Actually, I don't agree with that. I think that for every action, there's an exponential opposite reaction. I think that it happens. If you're a baseball and you're a pitcher, you throw a fastball, guy hits a line drive back at your head, I guarantee you it comes back a whole lot faster than it left your hand. But that's a discussion for another day. But let's look at this, okay? The federal government enacts a $15 an hour federal minimum wage. Here's what they cannot do. They cannot force companies and small businesses to hire people. Raise it $25 an hour, $50 an hour, $150 an hour, $1,000 an hour, because the government can't say, okay, I'm sorry, McDonald's, Burger King, anybody. It doesn't, not just fast food, anywhere. You have to hire this person and you got to pay them $15 an hour. No, they can't do that. So not only are they overstepping it by enacting a federal minimum wage that increases, actually doubles the minimum wage right now, but they can't. They just cannot force companies to hire people. Guys, that's the bottom line. Let's allow the free market to determine what people get paid. Again, do people always get paid what they're worth? No, absolutely not, and we understand that. But here's the deal: the more skills, the more value you bring to an employer, the more that you are going to get paid. That's the way it works. As the economy increases, the ability of businesses to pay more goes to reward those who provide the most benefit, who work the hardest, who bring the most revenue in for companies. I mean, that's the free market. That is what we call equal opportunity. This is not an equal outcome country. Everybody does not get the same thing. If one person works 24 hours a day, or let's say that they work 60 hours a week and they bust it and they bust it and they bust it, they should not make the same as someone who doesn't work at all. I'm sorry. I know that I'm probably going to make a lot of people mad, but that is the truth. This is not an equal outcome. This is equal opportunity. If you put in the time, effort, and energy, increase your skill set, increase your marketability, go in early, work late, do what you need to do, be a great employee, serve the customers, represent the company that you work for well, you are going to make more money. And I promise you, you deserve to make more money than someone who doesn't do that. So let's look at this $15 an hour minimum wage thing. And I know they call it living wage and everything else. Well, no, $15 an hour is not really a living wage. But let's make sure that we look at this thing from a free market and economic perspective. If a company can't afford $15 an hour, they're not going to hire you. $10 an hour, $12 an hour is a whole lot better than when you're receiving that check every 2 weeks than $15 an hour when you're not getting anything.